There's been widespread reaction to South Africa's 50 million rands donation to Cuba. The announcement was made by International Relations and Cooperation Deputy Minister Alvin Botes, who said the donation is intended to alleviate food security challenges experienced by Cuba because of the sanctions by the United States of America. To help us unpack South Africa's relationship with Cuba, I'm now joined by the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Institutional Support at Fort Hare University, Dr. Oscar van Heerden. Good evening, and thank you very much for your time tonight, Deputy Vice Chancellor. First and foremost, I suppose, in the context of the civil unrest that we saw in the country and people being hungry, there are food shortages and so on and so forth, and the fact that people are seeing South Africa saying, no, we're going to go to the World Bank and borrow some money, 11 billion rands. Of course, there's a whole explanation around the 11 billion rands. And then people sit back and they ask, okay, why are we borrowing other people 50 million rands when we are food insecure ourselves here in the country? Is the uproar justified?
No, I don't think so. Good evening, Thabo, and good evening to your viewers. I don't think it is justified. Of course, there is validity in the fact that we have significant challenges in South Africa: unemployment, poverty, inequality, our own triple challenges. But at the same time, we are also a responsible member of the international community, and we have a role to play, and we have a responsibility. The argument that says we shouldn't really be giving this money to Cuba is tantamount to saying that we shouldn't help the Mozambicans when they are experiencing severe floods, homes destroyed, people destitute, and yet the South African government makes our military available, our support services available to assist a neighboring country in times of need. And there are many other examples where we have sent our military into hotspots in Africa, whether it's in the DRC, in the Central African Republic, and many other places where we are busy with peace-building exercises. I know that there is some emotions about look after yourself first and your own house first before you go outside. But I do think that many South Africans would know that without solidarity from some of these poor countries during the apartheid years, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah, Cuba in particular. What is the relationship? I mean, the statement saying that this particular initiative was undertaken because it seeks to strengthen relations with Cuba and other countries in particular.
Well, as you know, historically, the ANC as a political party, as a political organization, was very much involved in the Cold War era. They got a lot of assistance from the then Soviet Union in terms of the communist bloc, and it's for this purpose that they also got a lot of assistance from Cuba. Many, I might recall, the involvement of the Cubans and the Cuban forces in the war in Angola. And many will argue that decisive war, in no small measure the Battle of Kuta Canavali, where the South African Defence Force was encircled and literally had to give up the fight there, is what then caused a domino effect with the independence of Southwest Africa, now known as Namibia, and indeed the end of apartheid as we know it in the 1990s. So, that is the sort of solidarity bond that is there between South Africa and Cuba. Equally strong, of course, is the bond between South Africa and the Palestinians.
Is there any help that we continue to get as South Africa from Cuba via the different programs that we have in the country? I mean, there are issues, for example, around health care. There was also talk about engineers that came at a price, at a cost to South Africa.
Yes, indeed. I mean, that solidarity does continue. As you know, Thabo, we've sent a number of our students to Cuba to get medical training, to study medicine, because as you know, even though it's a country that is suffering, where they face sanctions from the United States for many, many decades, they've actually done quite well in healthcare. Secondly, they also, wherever they can, do make their engineers, their doctors, etc., available in times of crises, and that has been an ongoing relationship. Yes, we do pay for the service, of course, but at the end of the day, it is the gesture, the solidarity that matters, that we are here to assist. And I think in this case, what the Deputy Minister, Alvin Botha, was saying is that given the ongoing sanctions of the United States, as well as the COVID pandemic, Cuba is in a desperate situation, and we can and certainly must try and assist.
Yeah. Many people maybe don't understand this work of goodwill and diplomacy and how it works. So, for example, one would say we've got maybe immediate neighbors here across the Limpopo who are similarly in a situation where they are being sanctioned by the U.S. and other parts of the West. What hand are we stretching to them at this particular time of need?
Well, I mean, it's a valid point. And as you know, we do a lot for the region. A number of Zimbabweans have found refuge in the borders of the country. There's a number of other African countries' citizens that are here due to refugee status because there is violence and war in the areas where they conflict from where they come, or simply just being destitute and as economic refugees come and look for opportunities in South Africa. So there is also a very indirect way in which we are making our resources, our infrastructure available to neighboring countries in the region. And of course, we also do our fair share in terms of contributing to their fiscus. Many people might not be aware, through the SADC and SACU arrangements, we do give a lot of money to our neighboring countries in terms of tariffs and so forth. So we do a fair share with our immediate neighbors. And of course, you know, the COVID special grant, the various social welfare infrastructure that is there in the country, these are all to try and alleviate our domestic challenges.
Yeah. Is there also, to an extent, a message that is being sent to the U.S. around the economic sanctions by South Africa in supporting Cuba?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the Americans are acutely aware and they get the message. We are saying that the ongoing sanctions coming out of the Cold War era is really unwarranted. President Obama, when he was in the administration there, tried desperately to alleviate the kind of tension that was there. In fact, under his administration, the U.S. embassy was reopened in Havana, and he really tried to normalize because he could see and understand that in many ways it is more sentimentality that is keeping sanctions against Cuba than reality. It just doesn't make any sense, and yet administration after administration, they keep the sanctions going.
Oscar, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much for coming through. Oscar van Heerden, Deputy Vice-Chancellor at Fort Hare University there, helping us get an understanding a little bit of the relations between South Africa as well as Cuba.